This poem is introduced by two quotes. Section 2 and Section 3 also begin with quotes. The poem is in memoriam for Cedric J. Robinson. Root of thangs, teeming black life on a blues scale. In memoriam for Cedric J. Robinson. The black middle class has hybridized freedom with material ambition. They possess no cultures grounded in the historical struggles against oppression, only the costume of political independence. And the white democracy became the dominant national narrative, a seduction to the men and women deposited among the poor whites, the arriving European immigrants, and the managerial strata. Cedric J. Robinson. 1. Let me take off this clown suit, this red, white, and blue camouflage invisibility, this death mask of terrorized generations chained in self-negation, ropes and knees on black necks, babies' heads crushed beneath clan heels, raped women made nursemaids for white felons issue, made breeding farms, their men castrated and cast out, tied to whipping posts, suspended in lynch knot. Let me end this seduction of unholy words flung against our reticulated melanin-resilient resistance, calling on the gods of all our fathers to bear us up in the strategic fight toward reclamation, re-Africanization, regeneration, redemption, restitution, rebirth. Let there be no mournful holler. Let there be no fear, despondent tear. Let our singing rise till earth and heaven ring, till firmament burst loose its waters, till black Africans can stand again and sing beside the mercy seat, the Ghana's golden stool and throne of glory. 2. An insurgency has arisen against domination and silence, and it has struck at every cultural and ideological manifestation of the hegemonic myth of the West. Let me stand witness to confusion cast out. I be neither asleep, dreaming, nor nightmare-haunted, thingified, consumerized, or materially possessed with thoughts of occupying whiteness, resting in comfort or security in the big house, in any shape, form of passion, purchase, credit or debit, or put on layaway. These ancestor-sent social distanced days do not mark change from the already abnormal, but set reconfiguration as reconstituted white privilege. Let us rip off the costume, run naked through macadam burden street, calling forth from earth and sky our creator African identity. We have-nots, proving problematic, eyes now open, tantalizingly reveal more of our truth self, the field to which I now aspire, the African we, skin and heart of me, heretofore unactualized. From knee-high days, my mothers taught me clear sight, taught me to see beyond the clearing of my father's absence and wartime trauma. Through the fog of adolescence struggling for identity, I learned to navigate the democratic mean streets, teeming black life. on a blues scale. Black and white moments on a rock and roll keyboard, comping young blood alto explorations in mischief-making moves, elders riding bassline, kicking hi-hat and snare, calling old G's to write the solo tilt and balance traditions right to be a pork pie hat. A bird signature, new day memento, a young man with his own horn. In my preteen years, OGs mind young thug apprentices to carry tradition forward into deep doo-doo, rebellion, theft, prison, and self-knowing, into filling absence, honoring the art of fight back, the conductor's baton, Max Roach, Aminata Moseka, Nina Simone, Miles, Coltrane, Monk, Ornette, Isla, Cecil Taylor, Matthew Shipp, Betty Carter. Jazz frees the African in us. This genius led my way back into our way. I sometimes forget how I got to be here, from ego mischief mania roiling my gut into knots, authority and adversary tincture distasteful to my palate, how I got here riding Big Brother's vibrations from a Victrola spinning 78s in sweeping shouts of joy us into new identity. I imbibed the poison of the West, embraced cathartic violence and pissed out the toxic brew, refreshed to drink clean water. I come now, midday in this 7th decade, tossed and driven over sharp stone, feet bleeding, knees aching, having splintered opaque glass ceilings and thrust my ebon head through feelings, rules of racial capitalism. Woke and never kneeling, I walked from the death house, broke out, repaired, and knowing how to make it through another day, riding black arts to peace and respect, identity intact, culture glowing, interests self-defining, sovereignty without causing trauma to the least of these, my brothers and my sisters. 3. For generations, this condition of over-determination has been due to the capacity of power to manufacture ideological negations of a more critical representation of the real. I am the inspiration we be now. Deep in understanding that we must stand over our insurrection, resurrect insurgency, declare, repair, piece together our wholeness from a tattered cloth of others writing our us into their imagination, their image, their nightmare programmed into our brains at their schools, churches, and institutions of white madness. I be we. The transmigration of our souls out of this mental nation state, rising up pyramid-aligned, overstanding identity, culture, interests, inspired of the ancestors, valuing progeny, our collective self, our collective, our collective, our reimagined we, our moment of reclamation come full circle to sacred mothers teaching sons to be suns and moons and stars and galaxies brilliantly aligned so our circle never again will be broken. I be we now redeemed, actualized to be about our business. The leaving here, the cleansing of foul thought, self-doubt, never good enough, must be whole and intact from studying identity-buried Akashic records. I must tell stories to this generation tied to generations past, tied to those to come, tied to earth and sky and water and fire, tied to the 7 directions, the sound of breath, breathing life anew, rising to embrace Ra. For we are the Amen hour, the Opele of Ifaz Odu, the Ankh of celebration, the collective experience exercising to unhinge from foreign matter and matters of color ideation, material pleasure, or privilege as the self-installed naturalness of whiteness that has operated in our skulls with emancipation, the lie clattering our minds to frenzied, disoriented ambiguity, the thought that we must fit into whiteness to be American rightful purveyors of dystopomania, co-conspirators in our own oppression. Madness. We are the I am that I am. We be delivering real speaking clear tongue, the free jazz of the people's language, living beneath the margins, beneath the middling sphere, beneath democracy's dystopian mayhem. We must guerrilla the captives into release, free their minds to weaponize their reincarnated selves back into Oya's winds, into the driving force of battling mothers, into the insurgent I am. Nzinga of Ndongo, Nometan of Benin, Kahina of Berber, Yenenga of Mosai, Aunt of Asia Minor, Ahotep of Kemet, Akhltun of Congo, Gudit of Ethiopia, Ya Esentewa of Ghana, Arewele of Somalia, Aminatu of Hausa, Oya and Efunloye Tinubu of Yoruba, Francis Clayton, Sarah Pritchett, Harriet Tubman, Angela Davis, Assata Shakur and Fannie Lou Hamer of Black America, Candace of Moreau, Queen Nanny of the Wayward Maroons, the woman-powered science of magic, resistance, rebellion, resurgent, redemptive, resurrecting. We are an ancient people, grown up resisting complicity, grown from self-misuse in the nation state of our abuse, grown into grown folk no longer groveling for white folk approval, armed now in body, mind, and spirit fired, we come claiming all that is ours and our identity. And our identity will never again be denied. We come now renewed, sound, silent conductors, woke and resilient, reminded, transformed, transactional, transcendental, transitioning, translating our Black radical tradition into today's essential African, the truth of our melanated selves, walking mean streets, teeming Black life on a blues scale. Prologue. Some people envisage revolution chiefly as a matter of blood and guns and the more visible methods of force. But that, after all, is merely the temporary and outward manifestation. Real revolution is within. That comes before or after the explosion, is a matter of long suffering and deprivation, the death of courage and the bitter triumph of despair. This is the inevitable prelude to decisive and enormous change, and that is the thing that is on us now. We are not called upon then to discuss whether we want revolution or not. We have got it. Our problem is how we are coming out of it. Cedric J. Robinson, Black Marxism, The Making of the Black Radical Tradition.